welcome to CinemaDMA. Today our special guest is Bergreen, and I don't know if I pronounce it properly, but she's going to tell me 5 times how to pronounce it, and I'm still going to probably pronounce it wrong, but she'll let us know. So Karen is somebody a little different than we usually have on CinemaDMA. She's a stand-up comic, an author, and as she proudly professes on her website, a stressed-out mom. So we're going to hear a little bit more about that, and she has a brand new book out called Following Polly, and it's a beautiful cover, and we're going to ask her about the cover as well. So with that said, Karen, welcome to CinemaDMA. We're so happy to have you.
I'm very excited to be here.
We're really happy.
Beautiful.
Yes, and we're happy that you picked a dress that matched our logo. Thank you very much. So Karen, you're, in addition to everything I said, you're also a former lawyer, a Harvard graduate. So you're currently a stand-up comic, a wife, mother of 2, unless you're going to count your husband as I do.
Yes.
And now a published author. Karen, tell us a little bit more. What don't we know about you, and how did this all come about?
Well, what you don't know about me is I like to watch a lot of TV, so I try to fit that into my schedule. How this all came about, I'm a mom because my husband and I,
You did the deed.
We did the deed.
Yes.
Is that a little dirty for CinemaDMA?
No, we like that.
You wanted to know how it came about, so I wanted to just be as explicit as possible.
It's good. It's the epitome of direct marketing. So
yes, right, because sex sells.
It's very direct, yes.
Okay. Yes. Buy my book. Okay. And
yes.
So I was a lawyer because that's what you did. I like TV. I said I like TV. I love LA Law. I love that show growing up. I just wanted excitement, and I was kind of creative, and for some reason I thought being creative meant being a lawyer. I don't know where I got that, because that's really not always the case, or it's really never the case. And it was fine. But I just didn't feel inspired every day. And then I started to do stand-up a little bit at night, and kind of like a moonlighting thing. And then I did a little improv, and then I got cast in something that paid $75, which is really quite a lot for television. When you're first starting, because I wasn't, in the beginning you don't ever get anything. I got a free meal, a t-shirt, and $75. I thought I was a star. And I decided I'm going to just make a go of this. So I quit being a full-time lawyer. I started to work part-time, and I started doing stand-up at night. I just started going to clubs and doing open mics and doing all the things that you have to do, which is a whole another show, to do that. And then 10 years later, when I had these little children at home and my career was kind of taking off, but it required a lot of travel, I had to sort of rearrange my creative energy to do something that was more sedentary, and I started writing my book. So I started writing when they were little kids. I wanted to do something funny, and I came up with this idea for a character, and then kind of worked from there.
So you're talking about being funny. Do you feel pressured to be funny all the time? Because this audience that's watching CinemaDMA is waiting for the funniest, edition of CinemaDMA.
Right, and it's not going to happen here.
Okay, all right. So we need to know that.
I do sometimes. I feel pressure when I sense it from other people. Like when people are looking at me at a party, and they're like, be funny. Be
tell
funny.
A joke.
And it's my husband always says she's not a trained SEAL, which I like.
That's good. Are your children funny?
My children are very funny.
Test out jokes on you?
They do. They test out jokes. The jokes that really work for them involve bottom and poopy. They're 4 and 6. So they're 2 and 4. They're a little immature for their age, and they love to say poopy and pull down their pants. And for them that's sophisticated. It's cute, but it's not exactly Letterman.
All right.
So
that's okay. But and so your book, Following Polly, in case we didn't say that enough times, and we'll say it some more, just came out, which is really exciting. And seriously, congratulations, because that's a lot. I
it
know
was like having another baby.
It is a lot of work. But how did you get the idea for this? How much of it did you pull from your illustrious law career that you told us about? How much of it came in your imagination? When did you have time to write a book?
Well, I think it's too much to sort of sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write a book. I just think that's really, unless you're Danielle Steele and you crank them out like every minute, I think it's much, I would say, today I'm going to write a little piece of a book. Today I'm going to write this character. Today I'm going to write this scene. So it didn't seem as oppressive as if you said, I'm going to write this whole big, long book. And it was hard when people would ask me what I was doing with my time. It was very hard to say I'm writing a novel because, everybody's like, oh, how's that novel going? It makes you so vulnerable. So I would just kind of do it like in a notebook here and there. I would write on the subway. A lot of my novel takes place in New York, and it's about a character who obsessively follows another character around New York. So it actually, my life kind of worked because I would do it on the way to gigs or on the way home from gigs or waiting to go on stage, and sometimes I would get a babysitter when the kids were asleep. I would write. I kind of did a little here, a little there. It definitely was not something where I said, I'm going to sit down every day for 6.5 hours, by golly, and write this thing.
It's like you're the ultimate multitasker. This is great.
I am, but I'm also a good procrastinator. I ate a lot while I was writing it. I watched a lot of television, but I really do think that the key thing is not to say I'm going to write a whole big book. I think that would be the kiss of death, frankly.
But you knew all the time that you were going to finish this book and really do this. I mean, you took it seriously, right?
I took it I absolutely took it seriously. But when I started to think too big, it gave me an anxiety attack, and so I just kept thinking small. Like today, I'm gonna. And frankly, even with the publicity of it, you think, oh, how do you publicize the whole thing, right? How do you publicize it? Instead of saying, I'm going to publicize what does that mean? I'd say, today I'm just going to mention on Facebook that I got a good review, or today I'm going to email to a friend who I met 2 years ago, oh, by the way, I wrote a book, which, may or may not mean anything, but it's easier to handle than a whole
thing.
I can't do a campaign.